What's up guys, and welcome back to another Blender tutorial. So in this tutorial we're going to be creating this with the help of geometry nodes. So as you can see, I already have a setup over here, and if I click on the object you can see this is the geometry node setup. I know this looks a lot complex, but believe me, it's really simple. I'm just gonna explain this whole thing now. So I'm just gonna delete the entire node group and start from the beginning. So first you need to select your object. In my case, this is a rock. So this is my rock, and I'm just gonna add a geometry node setup on this rock. So I'm just gonna press new, and you will get a two node tabs, which is group input and output. So in between we're gonna add a um, distribute points on face thing. So once you pop this in, we get this thing will a mesh is gonna disappear, and we get the points on the faces. So this is what we want. For this tutorial I'm just gonna increase the density to 50, so that we get a high poly kind of thing. And to replace this points to whatever object we want, we're gonna add a instance on point node. So I'm just gonna pop this in points, and for now I'm just gonna add a icosphere and pop this mesh to the instance. So now we have icosphere on everywhere. So I'm just gonna decrease the density to 4, and again over here I'm just gonna decrease the icosphere radius to 0.1. Let's say 0.1. So now we have something like this, and I'm just gonna increase the density to 50. So we have something like this. So now we'll add another node called scale instances to scale the instances, obviously. So we're gonna add a scale instance node, and as you can see we have a instance scale node also. Now this is not what we want, this is the thing. So I'm just gonna pop that in, and now I'm just gonna add another node called value. Now I'm just gonna keep this over here and connect the value to the scale. So now this value becomes the scale thing ratio. So if I set the value to 1, it is the 100%. Scale will be 100%. So I just can procedurally edit the scale of the icosphere. So now if I go out, let's before I do that, let's just bring back our geometry. So as you can see, we have connected our geometry to all these nodes. So there's this node called join geometry, sorry. So I'm just gonna pop this in, and also I'm just gonna pull this and connect it to geometry, and from scale instances I'm just gonna do that. So now as you can see, we have our geometry. On top of that we have our instances. So now let's replace this icosphere with plants we have over here. So I'm just going to zoom out. I have a plant over here. So this is a flower, and we have our plants over here. As you can see, we have some plants, and I've just moved all these plants to a collection called grass over here. So now I'm just gonna select the where's the object. I'm just gonna select the object, and I'm just gonna pull this whole entire collection to this area. So now, so that we get this thing node. So I'm just gonna delete the icosphere and connect the instances to the instances. So now, as you can see, nothing happens over here. That's because we have to check this two thing, and now we have our plants. But if you look closely, it's not upright, or the rotation is not correct. So to fix the rotation, we're gonna add a align ruler, end ruler to vector node, and sample nearest surface, so this node, and and a normal node. So I'm just gonna give this over here, and I'm just gonna pull the normal over here and connect it to value. And from value, I'm just gonna go to vector, and for the rotation, I'm just gonna pull this and connect it to instance on point rotation. So and now I'm just gonna change the float to vector, and I'm just gonna pull this group input geometry, and I'm just gonna connect it over here. So now, as you can see, the orientation changed. So if you look closely, and you can just sort of change the axis and see what works for you. So in my case, I think Y works for me because all are right. So now basically we have our thing instances on the rock or the grass on the rock. So to animate this, we need a controller. So I've used this icosphere as in controller. So as you can see now, it's not working because I haven't set up the node yet, but I'm just going to use this icosphere as a controller to control where my grass grows on the rock. So you just need to add a icosphere on your viewport by pressing Shift A and mesh icosphere, and then over in object properties you just go under visibility. And visibility, you just have to uncheck all of this. By default it will be checked, but we need to uncheck this, and under viewport display you just uh, select display as wire. So normally it will be like solid, so as you can see it will be like this. So we need to select it as wire, and then let me just increase the density. Let me just set it to 400 so that I get more particles, and then I'm just gonna group this so that it becomes more tidy. Okay, so once we've done that, we're just gonna select the icosphere, and in this thing we can see this is the icosphere, and we're just gonna select our object, which is our geometry nodes, and we're just gonna pull the icosphere into our viewport, into our geometry node setup, and make sure this is set as relative, and then we're gonna add a geometry proximity node because we are dealing with geometry proximity. So I'm just gonna pop this over here, and distance node because we are determining the distance with the object. So I'm just gonna add a distance node, which is we're gonna add a vector math, and then we're gonna set it to distance. So distance. So we're gonna set it to set distance and add a position node, and a math. Set this to multiply add, and again we're gonna add another math node, and set this to multiply, and you're gonna add another node called random value, and the last node is combine xyz to combine all of this. So I'm just gonna pop that in, and from the geometry of the object info, I'm just gonna go to geometry, and from position of this node I'm just gonna go to vector on the below, and from this position tab I'm just gonna go to vector, and from this I'm just gonna go to value and turn on flat. Make sure you check this, and again value to value, and for this you don't need to check this. You're just gonna connect this, and from value you're just gonna connect all xyz values, and then I'm gonna take this vector map and just hook it up to scale. Once you hook it up to scale, you can see when I move my icosphere, our object is kind of doing its stuff. So I'm just gonna play with this value. So in my case, the values here was something around 1.4 and zero point 0.4 on the below, and for the multiplier I think it was negative 8 or so, and for the additive it was 7. So now after changing the values, you can see when I move my icosphere, I get this kind of effect. So that is what we wanted to achieve, and you can just animate this icosphere and get a growth effect. So that's basically it for this tutorial. And also another part, if you want to add another collection, you can just copy this whole node and add another collection node over here and change the collection. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, please subscribe, as it supports me and encourages me to do all kind of this stuff. So yeah.